Making paintings in response to a setting like Blenheim was really unlike anything I've done before. I have so many feelings and emotions and thoughts about England as a place. It just seemed a very natural fit to me. I decided to include a vitrine of my source material in the exhibition. It felt like almost spewing the inside of my brain out for all to see, and it looked very much like my studio floor because I work from different source material all the time. Including the vitrine really helps people find a way into the paintings. Probably the thing that struck me the most in person was the Duke's armorial banner that's in the Great Hall. I worked from a little tiny reproduction and just sort of did my own version of that banner, like treated it as almost a ready-made, like a sort of, almost like a Jasper Johns, the way he treats the flag, or a Target, of taking something existing and basically painting it life-size. The hunt is just such a great subject, and I almost feel like I've wanted to paint it for years, but this just seemed like the perfect opportunity to paint a subject so dramatic, but also that would be relevant to a place like Blenheim. I work on lots of paintings side by side at the same time, so I was working on several paintings with the subject of the hunt, and the one, Dog is Life, very quickly became mostly about that dog who's kind of, I guess, dying. He's probably been gored by the boar. So it's just a very, very dramatic and horrific image that I was drawn to. I knew I wanted to include works on paper as well as paintings in the exhibition. Even though the drawings aren't studies for specific paintings, they take place alongside the paintings. So I felt like, again, showing the drawings sort of gives a deeper experience and helps you read the paintings. Probably my favourite painting at Blenheim. One of my favourites was the Joshua Reynolds portrait of the Duke and his children. So I decided not just make a copy of the Reynolds, but actually print it and almost be able to carry on with it myself as if I were Joshua. I really wanted to focus on the girls. You know, it's actually quite a disturbing image, but you know, the portrait as a whole, there's so much going on that you don't necessarily see at first. Would have noticed a recurring image, which is the Blenheim Spaniel. I noticed the Blenheim Spaniel first in the Reynolds painting. And I really like the way that in the Reynolds, the Blenheim Spaniel in the bottom corner really pins down the action. It really, you know, works as a device. I think in a lot of the more abstract paintings, I like the idea of having this dog almost as this visual hook, so that once you see the dog, it's easier to start seeing echoes of other animal forms and human forms and so on. I've often painted the landscape, like imaginary landscapes usually, or memories of landscapes. And the older I've got, the more I've realised that all my landscape paintings are really about a sort of longing. One of the first things that you notice at Blenheim is the presence of war. I feel like I've always wanted to make paintings of battles, and a bit like the hunts, I just didn't really seem like a relevant thing to do till now. So I really got into this idea of the crisscrossing grass sort of behaving the same as the crisscrossing weaponry, and that they could almost be interchangeable. I think in cornets and coronets, I'd already been painting quite a few with this kind of grass idea and the crisscrossing blades of grass, which really serve so many purposes. I mean, they slice up the picture plane, but they also almost give an instant sense of space. But I knew I wanted to do more than just throw a bunch of paintings on the walls. And one way to intervene in a different way was to do a carpet. Obviously, there are so many carpets and tapestries there already, it just seemed a very natural thing to do, to be able to get a painting, another way of showing a painting really, but to put a painting on the floor rather than on the walls. The painting The Triumph of Death is a painting that I'd seen in Sicily a couple of years before called The Triumph of Death. It's by an anonymous 15th century artist, and it's just this absolutely extraordinary image. You've got scary skeleton basically galloping into town on his skeletal horse, causing havoc. So he basically crosses all 4 panels. It's an amazing composition. On the bottom left, I basically got all the destruction in his wake. I used the red coat or the red jacket actually throughout the exhibition. It could be either a hunter or a soldier. And then there's like some memorial poppies and even Churchill's bowler hat. And on the right bottom panel, there's sort of the ladies and gentlemen still sipping their champagne while death comes charging into town. There's literally just so much space when you're working on that scale that you can squeeze like every single thing you've ever wanted to put in a painting into one space. It's such a grand gesture. It's so kind of overblown and over the top that it just seemed to add anything after that would be gilding the lily.